This is the Sexual 4 panel. Welcome to the Art of Growth, where we use the Enneagram and the best tools we can find to help you transform. We hope you've been enjoying this season on the subtypes. If you're just jumping in, you're going to want to hear some of the introductory episodes where we discuss the instincts a little bit on our perspective and what we're doing over the season as we're doing 27 panels. Although there is a lot of similarity between the types, there is also a lot of differences and nuances when you get into the instincts. And we are learning so much about how the actual instinctual sequence impacts the type and how it shows up differently, and why the stereotypes and the memes just don't work because of that. And so we are so glad to get to go deep on this season, and thank you so much for journeying with us through that. This week are the panels with the type 4s, and these type 4s will be discussing their relationship to each of their instincts and their instinctual stack. Before we jump into that, you can take our free instincts test to see your instinctual sequence on our website, www.theartofgrowth.org. You can also take our Enneagram test there, as well as connect with us about all of our work, from group coaching to individual coaching to working with companies, which is really amazing because more and more companies are seeing the value, the return of investment on investing in the emotional intelligence of their organization so it flows more seamlessly. I woke up this week thinking about how much better it would have been if I would have had this knowledge much earlier in my career. Not only would it have saved a lot of emotional struggles and relational conflict, but it would have also made those work relationships so much more efficient and effective. So reach out to us if we can help your organization with that. Wanted to put on your radar that we are going to have a live Q&A event around the instincts at the end of these 27 panels. So make sure you are subscribed to the newsletter to find out when that is, to be able to get tickets. So we look forward to hearing from you. But for now, let us jump in with the Sexual 4 panel and what they have to teach us, not only about the type 4, but the relationship to the sexual instinct and how it plays out in their lives. Let's get into it.
All right, so welcome everyone to the Sexual 4 podcast. I am so excited to have you on. We have been going through all these subtypes. We're going to complete 27 of them when we're done, and that's crazy. But this has been so much learning for us and super inspiring as we're understanding how the types express themselves and how they do so very differently when the type matches up with the instinct. And so the self-preservation 4, the sexual 4, and the social 4 are all going to look very different from each other. And at the same time, have a lot of similarities. And so that's what we're eager to explore together. So let's begin by you introducing yourself. Tell us where you're from.
My name's Matt. I live in Aurora, Colorado.
I'm Brenda, and I live in Charleston, South Carolina.
I'm Sister Jen, and I live in Westerville, which is a suburb of Columbus, Ohio.
And I'm Melody. I live in Sydney, Australia. I'm 46, just turned, and I have 3 children, one of whom has special needs.
Well, welcome, and thank you so much for being part of this. And let's jump in. I'm eager to understand a little bit more about how the 4 in its core need for filling what's missing, finding what's missing, what's incomplete, and the search for that, how that plays itself out, how that interacts with the different aspect of the sexual instinct. And so there are sort of 3 aspects underneath that, which are risk-taking. So that's the ability to bring change and not stay stagnant in life, sort of broadcasting, putting yourself out there, that attractional quality, and also immersion and fusion. So immersion and that energetic exchange that happens between you and another person, as well as even sometimes being able to do that with projects or ideas or thoughts. So let's begin with the first one. Let's talk about how this core need of the 4 interacts with taking risks and bringing about change in your life.
I think for me, it's more about just forcing situations I need to be stimulated. So risk taking is a part of stimulating myself. And I don't think it's calculated. A lot of times I will choose to do something that I know is probably counterproductive because on the one hand, I think I'm smart enough to turn it around. And on the other, I don't really see it as risk. I see it as sensation seeking. It's like, what's going to happen here that's going to light me up?
You seem to concur with that, Matt. What's going on for you?
Yeah, I would agree with especially what you said at the end. It doesn't feel like a risk seeking change. Once something becomes germane or whatever, I find myself looking into different networks, different groups, different hobbies, interests, whatever, to see like maybe this thing that is just driving me to find whatever it is there, because now my life, it feels a little bit too boring. Yeah, sensational. That's a good word. It's not sensational enough for me. And it's very automatic. By the time I've noticed that it's happened, it's already happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a calculated move. That was a really good way to put it, Melody.
And it's not a distraction. Like, oftentimes in the 7, you hear that they are easily distracted. I'm not distracted. I'm intensely focused and I'm very deliberate on seeking something else.
Sure.
For me, I've noticed in the past, as life got boring or mundane or predictable, that I just pick up and move cities or move communities. Once again, it wasn't conscious. It was just, let's try something new. I've had 3 different careers. I've lived in several states, but lately I have felt more called to stability. I felt that invitation to start staying in one place. And I'm actually learning now that having the same friends for more than 3 years has its own level of excitement and has its own level of risk. They're getting to really know me. It's vulnerable and risky, but it's something new and it stays fresh.
Well, I've been thinking a lot about this, and for me, I don't know that some of this journey of risk-taking was something that I chose initially or knew I was choosing, but I think the dominant thing in my life has been healing. Because I came from so much trauma, I've been the one in the family to call people out on their stuff, to risk telling the secrets, and kind of biting shame in the butt with it. My biggest struggle in life, because I think for so long I hid. And this kind of goes to that special stuff. I didn't feel like I had what everyone else had most of my life to get done what needs to get done. Like, I don't feel like most of my life I started, quote unquote, for lack of better language, killing it.
Could you say more about that shame piece? Like, what did you mean by biting shame in the butt? That sounded very, very interesting to me. Like there's something there. Could you explain what that means?
I don't know, other than just by virtue of telling the secrets.
So are you referring to telling the family stories, telling the stories of what happened to you as you grew up and not living under the shame of those stories? That's what you're referring to?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. I don't feel ashamed of that anymore like I used to feel, that I need to just stay hidden, be silent. Yeah. And I think that for me, if you knew all of the story, which you don't necessarily need to, and I feel proud of myself for it, and I don't feel like I have to hide from that anymore, and I think that was a huge risk for me to say the things that I've said, call people out on their things. Even when I was younger, though, I have been one, not necessarily within my family of origin, but in certain situations, I would be the one that would say something to someone if they were mistreating the outcast, if you will, like the person who was on the periphery, if you will, if that makes sense.
It's a compulsion to truth tell. I feel compelled. I cannot stop myself from telling the truth, but it's interesting because I'm also trying to think compassionately about the other person, but I'm also thinking, well, am I the arbiter of truth? How dare I step in here and tell truth? But if I don't, then I'm giving up on you, and I can't give up on you. So it becomes a game of intensity around how honest you can be. But there's something stimulating as well, because people inherently react to truth. So there's something delicious about it when you get in an intense communion with someone and they're uncomfortable and you're uncomfortable and you are alive, and it feels really good. I like that. So I resonate with what you're saying, Brenda, because I'm like that too. And I'll find tricky ways to say tricky things. It's almost like a clever little game for me. But I think I'm doing it in service. My intentions are good. But again, I have to question, is that just my ego? What's going on here? Am I giving this person a gift, or am I satiating myself? I've got to be careful about that intellectually.
The intuition that we have to see what is true, especially under the surface, and really feel what's true and put words to it, seems really exciting. But for a lot of people, it is not at all exciting. And so it can be scary. It can be kind of we're not ready to go there for like another year of this relationship, you know?
But let's go anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like, well, we could get out from under this umbrella. Like, I'm telling you, I see what's happening. And like, would you follow me? Because these things that are casting this cloud over your life, I would love to like enter that with you and then walk with you out from under it in the ugliest parts. Like, we can handle that. I mean, that's kind of the world we live in a little bit. But I learned early on, my wife is an 8. And so we're a pretty intense couple. In the way we sort of laid the foundation for our marriage, I was way too much too fast. And I didn't realize that until she, was able to articulate that. And it confused me for a while, because I was like, well, isn't this what a good relationship is made of? But yeah, just learning how to really honor somebody else and where they're at it takes more work.
You're describing the intelligence. I really appreciate that. The intelligence of that risk-taking part of the sexual energy, which is, let's go, we can go there. Now, it shows up in the 4 very differently, but for all of us, there is a sense that this will produce something good if we go there. And so for the 4, you've just described it as like going into the depth of this emotional sort of truth. Like, let's speak about the truth here. That's really very, very helpful. Let's talk about broadcasting and attraction. How does that show up for you as a 4?
For me, it's like a laser beam. No, it's like fishing. You just see what's going to jump on your hook.
Yes.
I really enjoy being in a social situation, scanning the room for who I can hook. And I intellectually stalk people because, if I have just a fragment of a conversation and something happens, then bang, I feel as though I'm shining this light. I'm almost going to capture you in it, and we're going to be here. And then if it goes the wrong way, I'll shut down really quickly, walk off. So I need intensity. The broadcasting is just a way to bring out the intensity, to find it. And then once I've found it, I'll drink it, I'll eat it, I'll just absorb it. And then when it's done, I'm satiated. I can leave.
You're ready to move on.
Yeah. And I'm not flippant. I enjoy it. When I was younger, I would strangle it. I did it very poorly. I would strangle those around me with my intensity from the broadcasting. Now that I'm older, I can take it or leave it. I can pick and choose what's appropriate, how intense I should be in this social situation with this person whose wife may be here or whose friend may need more of their attention. So I'm very good at picking up what's in the room. But the broadcasting is the selfish thing. I enjoy it. It's my little treat. It's why I turn up, really. And I'm looking for people who need me as well, because that's a beautiful part of myself, going deep, being able to do that. Who needs me? And that'll be enjoyable.
Yeah, I hate small talk. I want to know your deepest, darkest secret, and I'm going to join you in that deepest, darkest secret, and we can prove. I'm also a spiritual director, so that's like that feeds my soul. It's those one-on-one relationships that just, they go intense, and they're beautiful and they're wonderful, and I bask in it almost. When there is a gathering or several people, I seem to have an eye or an intuition for the other person who doesn't belong, because I so often feel like I don't belong, that I find another person who doesn't belong, and then we don't belong together. Yeah, my nephew doesn't like a lot of people. And at Christmas times, the two of us would sit on the fireplace hearth together, and we wouldn't say a word, but we would sit there together. And at the end of the day, Curtis would say, "That was a wonderful Christmas. Thank you, Aunt Jen." I'm like, "Thank you, Curtis." But just being in the presence of somebody who also felt on the outside was really sweet.
Mm.
I've been told that I can come across, at least kind of in a first impression way, of intimidating, because, I mean, honestly, I don't really know why, but I think I carry intensity. I'll often find somebody not even thinking about it. I mean, this is really interesting because I'm seeing my subconscious in categories that I didn't know existed. But, you know, I'll go into a new situation or a familiar one, and generally the person who needs to have like someone to walk them through a crisis, big or small, I will end up with them working through it. It's not uncommon for people to like share some stuff with me that they've never shared with anybody ever. So it's an interesting sort of juxtaposition of being perceived as intimidating, but also like someone who can open somebody up to where they're sharing stuff that no one else knows. And it could be a complete stranger or someone that I've known for a while, but out of the blue, it's like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about this really hard thing."
Mm.
That's as far as I've gotten on this category of broadcasting. I mean, this was one of the harder things to sort of think through. I don't think about it when I go into a place necessarily, but I think being able to read people is really pretty easy. And so finding the person to connect with, to go to a place with, that's going to be like, how far can I go with this person who I can perceive as like someone who will go there and connect with me at a deep level. If we get to a certain point and then it like changes quick, I get really frustrated. Like if I get a concrete wall, like, "Oh, that's where we're going to stop." It's like, we were getting places, man.
Yeah. Sure.
So that can be really frustrating to me. And then I go into this cycle of like, I should have known, and my intuition was lying, and what's going on. And yeah, it's not a pretty picture, but
Yeah. So this has been great because a few of you already were like going towards that immersion fusion. Like the broadcasting is there in service of the immersion and fusion for you. It may not be necessarily your strongest out of the three. Generally, there's like three, one's stronger, the second one's less so, and the third one's way, way off. But in what way are you throwing the line out and then like getting that feedback, that look? You know, in what way do you do that has a bit more of that, I'm putting myself out there to see if there's a response from people, or, you know, I'm going out to an event and I'm going to look good, or, you know, there's sort of that thing that functions generally within the sexual energy. I'm curious if that does so for you as well.
Absolutely. And it can be something as simple as knowing that everyone else is going to wear jeans and a shirt, so I'll wear a red dress. I want to make myself visible so that someone who needs to find me can. But it also helps me pull people into my sphere. It's deliberate. It's very deliberate. But I'm smart enough also to pretend. So if we move into a space where things don't feel appropriate or don't, you know, for example, if I was to run into a husband and wife that I knew and I would be more intense with the husband because he's more interesting, I'm also very good at pulling back and being neutral so that no one can perceive that I'm doing the wrong thing, because I'm aware of other people's feelings, even though I want to go so deep. Like Matt said, I want to go as deep as they want to go. I thrive on that. I'm careful, particularly as I get older, about how that's perceived. So I'm thoughtful about that. But as a younger person, that got me in a lot of trouble, and I did not understand the trouble, and I did not understand what I was doing and what others expected of me or what was socially appropriate. So as a 4, I think you're bound to have those really confusing, hurtful moments because you don't understand what you did instinctively. You're not mature enough to catch it.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, broadcasting is probably not the place I go to as much as I do with the risk taking and the immersion fusion. However, one thing I do that's a fun thing, I'm probably known at a worship leader retreat as the person who goes around asking people if they want to dance, because after the retreat, we go to this place to have drinks and eat. I cannot tell you how many people are like, no, no, no. And I'm like, what? I even do that with my husband, who is a 5, when we are leaving the restaurant. Come on, Dennis, let's dance. As we walk out, and he looks at me as if I lost my mind, which maybe I have.
Hey.
Whenever I go to a party, I do look for, or get together, I look for the person or people I know. That said, I also look for the people who don't look like they belong. For me, it's not that I want to not belong together. It's, for me, I want them to see that they do belong.
One thing about the energy of broadcasting and attraction, as things are opening back up from COVID, this energy of being around people is overwhelming me because I haven't been around that much energy. I'm single, I live alone, I've gone out a few places, but now that I'm starting to branch back out, receiving and broadcasting energy is exhausting me. Like after an hour or two, it's like, I need out of here. And it's like, I want to be engaged and I want to be part. It feels like energy overload, and I'm going to short circuit if I don't get back alone.
I really resonate with that, Sister Jen. When I'm on, but I need a lot of time off to recover from that. A lot of time alone, a lot of time in silence. I almost need to just put my battery on recharge. And my daughter is a 4, she's 13, and she is on me all the time. So I'm using a lot of my energy to caretake her because I don't want her to go through what I went through. But that piece is so true. The exhaustion that I feel from being on, and particularly I think it's a new world because a lot of people in COVID have almost forgotten the nuances of being around other people. So you see people behaving in new ways that are foreign to me, and I have to catch up with that. I have to think about, is that rude? Is that allowed? Is that personal? COVID has changed the way people are moving around people, and I'm struggling to catch up.
As a 4, I'm not surprised that I'm the only guy on this podcast. And that can be a challenge for me because I'm much more emotional than most other men. And I was really insecure about that for a while. And so learning how to just be comfortable with that has really helped because, I really did. I was like, what's the matter here? I mean, I just, this is how I am, but it seems so different, and already feeling like there's something missing. It was a struggle there for a bit, but Enneagram has actually helped me a lot with it. I'm a big hugger. That has been really hard over COVID because that is a way that I'll sort of throw the line out, so to speak. How do people perceive physical touch? Like, it's a really big deal to me because I think affection, especially from a man who's in a position of leadership, can be really healing if done well. So not having that sort of primary tool has been a huge struggle, like a huge struggle. So I'm excited for things to open back up so that I can overwhelm everybody and give them bear hugs. But
just to touch people.
Yeah. And, as a pastor, I think it's just one of the things that I can do practically. So I'm excited for that. And another thing, I love Johnny Cash and the Man in Black It's like my song. I'll wear dark stuff to things where it's not appropriate and vice versa. Even if I'm going to a certain, like, depending on the funeral, I'll be like, I'm going to wear something really colorful. So that's definitely another way I'll do that. If I don't have any energy, I'm like, I'm going to definitely blend in and not stand out because I'm exhausted and I don't want to talk to anybody right now.
Wow. Well, I want to thank you deeply for that, Matt, for you being this vulnerable about how you feel and being a male 4 and the complications that creates, for sure. Really appreciate you saying that. You've all been talking about this immersion fusion piece. And so for the sake of time, let's just maybe one question to go around here. And that's the balance between the heart and this immersion fusion piece, because that sometimes gets mixed in there in the same, because it's mixed inside you. You have the heart that already feels and picks up on stuff and wants to go deep with people. So heart types tend to like the connections with other people. But then you add this sexual instinct to it with this aspect of immersion fusion. And then it's like on fire. So there's a lot of mixture of heart and instinct in there. And so maybe just say, whatever comes to your mind, one thing about that fusion immersion experience for you and this blend of heart and instinct.
I think being a sexual 4 is like being a 4 on 4. It's the most 4 you can be. And one of the ways that it is a negative part of my life is that I often get caught in a heart-head loop. I will feel something so deeply in my heart and want to immerse myself in another, want to fuse with another. And then I'm intellectually thinking about what I'm doing. So I get caught in this loop feedback between the heart and the head. But the problem is I'm neglecting my body. So quite often I'll feel exhaustion, but I'm unable to stop. I'll have a sore foot, but I'll walk 4 kilometers on it. I neglect my body immensely because I'm too busy with this feedback loop between the heart and the head. And that adds to my exhaustion. It adds to my anxiety at times. My body is doing all sorts of things, just crying to be noticed, and I'm completely ignoring it. And then that perpetuates the stress. It perpetuates the tiredness. So, yeah, I'm really out of balance in that sense. The intensity throws me out of balance very much in my body, which is really important. I can't meditate. I can't stop. It's tiring. Yeah.
I work with men who are homeless. There will be times we won't see someone for a while. And I just have this broken heart. I'm hoping they're doing well. I'm praying they're doing well. But then we also find out that sometimes they die. And that's why we haven't seen them. This winter's been rather rough. And as far as losing some people, it just breaks my heart. And I feel like so many times I just wander around with this heart that's like showing to the world. And it's like, here, just go ahead and jab my heart a few times. Or, it's like open. I wouldn't have it any other way though, because I do want to feel. And I do want that connection with people, but it hurts at times. And like painfully hurts.
And that is also why 4s will both move towards people and then move away. That's part of the reason, of course, but I'm hearing that in there as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
I've found this season of, both of my sons are in their 30s, and obviously empty nest here. And while I celebrate, the new stages, his being my firstborn being married, etc., lately I've become very aware of the need to grieve some things. And it's not that those events were negative, his getting married. It's just, we don't have that, that intimacy we used to have. And it's been extremely hard. And I want to make it clear, we have a great relationship. It's just, I've thought a lot lately about, wow, it's just, and so I'm learning to let what it is be and also embrace the tears when they come. And sometimes they come and catch me off guard like they are right now. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've really appreciated here lately. It seems that there's been more of an awareness of lament and the process of lament in just human beings' lives in general. It's resonated so deeply with me, and it feels that it has given me permission to be more vocal about my laments.
Yeah. And, something that is very much a part of my life is my wife will tell me, if you're in a crisis, you need to have Matt with you, because the emotion of that and just the experience of it, it's so accessible to me. And so like sitting in it, even not talking, like I can sit in a hospital room with the family for hours and I won't say 3 words. And then I'll see them the next day and they'll be like, you made such a difference. I think that's a part of this immersion fusion, being able to really sit in a moment like that with somebody and just like really be in it and not be trying to sort of make it what it's not. On the flip side of that, being with people when we have a huge answer to prayer or something just really incredible happens in somebody's life, being able to celebrate that with somebody is a real gift, because we can go even to like the really positive, and the excitement of a win, especially when you've really been together through something that has been really difficult and presented some challenges. And I think that's something that I've grown in. And the more that I do, it's great to be with people going through a challenge and experiencing kind of a victory or overcoming something with them, because it's just like really, really good.
Thank you so much for that, all of you. Let's talk about the second. This is what's oftentimes called the neutral instinct, the one that comes in next after your dominant. So tell me, which one is it and how do you use it?
Mine is the social. It's a means to an end. I can organise a dinner. I can organise a dinner party. I can organise an outing. No problem. I can show up to a huge party. But I'm really only there to find an intense moment. It's neutral for me. I can do it. I don't really like it. I can pretend that I like it. I can slip out the back very quickly and not say goodbye to anyone. I'm notorious for that. When it's time to go, I'll go. If I want to stay, I'll stay. It's just nothing for me. I can do it. I don't. Yeah, it's a means to an end. If I'm gathering a group of people, it's just because I'm hoping to connect with one. And if not, I'll leave.
I'm also, social is number 2 for me. I love people, but again, it's more about being in a space to create connection with like individual people or like a small group of like 2 or 3 people. That's pretty much it. That's how I can explain it.
Social's my second. I met a new couple that came to our church who was interested in this one thing. And then I knew someone else was interested in it. I was so relieved I could push everybody, push them to the people who were interested in what they were interested in. I'm like, next. But I think social has healed me in a lot of ways. For years would have just, I don't think I had a close friend until like junior high. Back in the day, we called it that. And for years, it was just one, and I think that's my tendency to have. But I realized that everyone has a life. I can have different friendships with people who are not just like me. It's really helped me, especially learning the Enneagram. Learning my friends who are 9s or 2s, or I do want intimacy. I do. And I'm still pushing for that with my 5 husband, but I'm learning to give him space for it.
Social, I'm not unique here, but social once again is my second. I think for me to tie into wanting the greater good, I've used that to tap into a lot of social justice issues as far as advocacy and relationships with people who are marginalized. And so I think that's where I've tied in a lot of the social. as far as finding my meaning. I don't go to the system level as far as the greater good. It's more individual or small group level, but it is definitely looking for the greater good.
Mm. Since we're with you right now, Sister Jen, I want to go back to what you had said earlier as we move to the third instinct, which is the neglected. And surprising to us, we didn't, plan this, that all four of you would have self-preservation as your third. You had mentioned a couple things earlier. I wonder if you can explore those a little bit more in terms of the neglected center. So the three questions would be, and we know the answer to the first one, which one is it? The second one is, what problems has it caused you? And the third one is, how are you growing through it? So take it away.
So self-preservation is my neglected instinct. I struggle with body awareness, and understanding my limits is part of that. I push and push and push and push until I collapse or get really sick. And my body's like, hey, you're going to pay attention to me now. And so, but also stability has been that big challenge as far as always wanting to go to something bigger and brighter, new, fresh, grass is greener on the other side kind of thing. And learning to stay put has been a challenge, but has also been a blessing. I'm seeing the richness of people getting to really know me and me getting to really know them past the initial stories. I have stories I initially share with new people. And then to be with some people and actually get past those rehearsed stories, so to speak, that rehearsed vulnerability, to actually explore myself even more in relationship with them. And explore them even more. But being in relationships with people and learning how they put things into words that they're experiencing helps me then put words to my experiences and growing in that together.
My neglected instinct is definitely self-pres. I actually just took the test today. For me, I will stay up and watch the show until I need to be in bed, and then I'll wake up, oh my gosh, I'm having such a hard time getting up. That being said, I'm getting better at not doing that every night. I nanny my grandsons. That's been super good for me because it has created structure. So most nights I'm not doing that like I used to. And routine I found is good for me. Structure is good for me. And I'm trying to find a balance in doing the creative things that light my fire, if you will, and having that list that feels like a box to me oftentimes. And yet I know, because it's proven, that it's good for me. I think I'm at a place in my life now, I need some help with taking the stuff that's kind of spilling out of me creatively and having the discipline to move it further, if you will, like songwriting. I think I'm pretty good at it, but I need some help with it. So, yeah.
I'm the same. I'm a night owl. It's very hard for me to say I'm done. I'm done with this project. It's very, very hard. Whether it's writing a sermon or musically or any kind of creative thing that I'm working on, even designing a liturgy for a service, it's really hard for me to say I'm done, because it's it could be a little more this or a little more that to make it feel this way. So just being okay with imperfection that way is tough. I'll wear myself so thin. The way that I'm growing is really slow, number one. The structure piece is huge. The biggest help that I've had is honestly just saying, I am really bad at this and I need help. And I've asked my wife to help me and another friend, will you please help me figure this out? But when I am able to, especially get out of my own head, do something physical, whether it's working around the house or going for a walk or a hike or whatever, it's such a game changer. And I know that, but actually doing it is, I don't know why it's so hard, but it's really hard.
I think I neglect self-pres. Self-preservation for a lot of people shows up as nesting. And I do all of that, but I do it out of compulsion. I'm compelled to make sure the chairs line up. I'm compelled to make sure the curtain is hanging properly. That's not really nesting. It's more nervous energy or frustrated energy. And for me, I neglect the self-pres instinct. I'm not chewing my food. I'm not going to bed on time. I'll sit up and have another glass of wine, even though I know I've got to be up really, really early. I'll buy yoga mats and not do yoga. I've got 40 books next to my bed that I haven't read that I'm going to read. So for me, it's just pushing. I'm not drinking enough water. And it's also risk taking. How far can I go without caring for myself? So that's how risk taking shows up for me as well, in that I know I should do X, Y, Z because that's the wise thing to do, but instead I'm going to push myself to do A, B, C. And look, if it works, it works.
And
I'm a superwoman. And if it doesn't, well,
man,
we just won't talk about it.
I'm not even a 4, but I'm a sexual 7. You just exposed me. That's embarrassing. That is true. I do think in the same way, like push and see if I can get away with it. Self-pres is also my neglected. So this is, not proud of it, but it is that competitiveness. Yeah. And the drivenness that you mentioned is fairly consistent with that sexual energy competition and pushing. And that makes a lot of sense.
But I don't compete against others, really. I mean, there's somewhere in the back of my mind that thinks, gee, there's a saying in Australia, hold my beer. And it means like, you think you're good, too. Watch what I can do. Yeah, hold my beer.
Maybe we got it from them.
Usually that usually means I'm about to do something stupid in America.
Okay.
Here it's very much a competitive signaling. It's like, you've done this, okay, hold my beer, watch me go. So I'm very much like that, very much like that. I'm very driven, but I compete against myself because I never thought I could do it. So here I go.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank each of you enough for just fantastic conversation here. Again, learning so much, feeling a little bit exposed by you, Melody. All of it is fantastic. It's all good. Like this is enriching to our understanding of the 4 and its nuances, particularly with this instinct, the sexual instinct. So a huge appreciation for being vulnerable, transparent, authentic, and for having put such good thought into your answers. So thank you.
Yeah, well, you've given us such a gift to the Enneagram community. And thank you so much for sharing your story, because it really does help us all not just understand you or what it's like to be you, but for so many people to understand the people around them. And that is a total gift. So we will talk to you again soon. Bye. Bye. Thank you to our 4 panelists. So I end each episode with a kind of a benediction, because no matter what the panel is, there is an energy, a skill set, a gift that we want to integrate as we want to be a more integrated being and have access to the gifts of all of these types. And so I end with that so that we think about how we need to integrate that energy. But this week, before I do that, I just want to remind you that you can take our free instincts test on our website, www.theartofgrowth.org, and you can reach out to us about coaching there as well. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any of this content as it comes out. In this season, we are releasing 3 episodes a week. So this is a deep dive, and we appreciate you doing it with us and learning with us, really. Follow us on Instagram at Art of Growth. And if you leave us a review on iTunes, really helps out the algorithm that helps more people find this work. But for now, my friends, may you lean into this energy, this sexual energy, the part of you that knows when not to edit, the part of you that knows how to enjoy life, to experience pleasure, wonder, ecstasy, and a deep connection to others, deep connection to your work, to your interests, to the fascination of life and the experiences it has to offer. May you integrate this energy within you so you know when to take risks, when you know when to lean in and break through. But may it be integrated enough that you know when to temper it as well, that it may be a gift within you always. Grace and growth, my friends.